Let's do it. Be a Voice Radio, Wisconsin Voices. We back. We are back. This past weekend was pretty busy. I just want to shout out to everybody out there soaking up the sun. You are on WNOV 860 AM, 106.5 FM with Wisconsin Voices, Be a Voice Radio. Of course, I'm Bryan Sanders, community outreach organizer for Wisconsin Voices, with our guest co-host again in the building. What's your name for the people?
Lanisha Martin. I am the communications manager for Wisconsin Voices.
Yeah, so let's tell the folks sort of first reminder, because they don't get to talk to you much. We shout you out randomly when we on the radio. So what is your job over there at Wisconsin Voices?
So basically what I do is most of the like graphic design work, sending out emails, creating a newsletter. So I'm doing all the like, content. I'm creating all the content for Wisconsin Voices.
You get to strategize with me sometime, we get to have a little random strategy, little kickoff, but yeah, I met Lanisha, and Lanisha has just been, a great addition to Wisconsin Voices. She came in on just the campaign tip with us and ended up, working and coming into the organization, and, we love it. She's already connected into the city, so it was just a fit for the community. So, thank you for all the hard work you do, not only at Wisconsin Voices, but of course across the city and all the connecting, because you'll plug me in with somebody like today. We got to plug in today, so it keeps us rolling. How was your weekend?
Man,
how was everybody's weekend? Shout out real quick before you get to talking, because we want to let you go first. Shout out to Debo in the building.
Debo
trying to keep us cool. Shout out to Bryan in the building as well, doing what he do behind the scenes. Thank y'all for coming in, and everybody else behind the scenes at WNOV. Thank y'all for y'all work and dedication. But yeah, I'm sorry. How was your weekend?
Man, it was great. I mean, my weekend started off really at Juneteenth.
Yeah, pretty much.
I had an amazing time.
You was the first person I've seen besides a couple, random.
That was crazy. Though,
how quick I seen you, because we said we was gonna link, but we didn't think we was gonna link that quick. As soon as I cut the corner, I made my way past the barbecue stand and seen an old friend that didn't want to talk that much. It's all good. We like that though. It's all love. And went through and turned around from the MATC spot, and there you go, walking across with your who's that, your cousin?
My cousin, yeah. My cousin Tara Martin.
Yeah, shout out Tara.
Shout out to Tara.
Yeah.
She working over there at Running Rebels, man. She doing a lot of great stuff in the community. She also has a group home for young women called Promising Young Women.
Okay.
And they doing a lot of great things with those young girls. So shout out to Tara and Treese.
Yeah.
They definitely doing a great job in the community. I had a good time. I was walking where she told me, like, man, I should have been walking with you. Everybody.
Man,
we kept stopping, so she was mad. She was like, you only get 30 seconds per person. So, but we had a good time, though, man.
And that time I was with you, you stopped at like 3 spots. And then you see I disappeared because it happened to me. I said, mine haven't started yet. And as soon as mine started, we got disconnected. That's how we got disconnected, because I kept running to folks just like you.
Running to folks. It was a good time, though. It was like a big family reunion.
Yeah. If you don't work in the community, or if you don't do anything that's actively in the community, that's the best way to see everybody is at Juneteenth. You get a great view of everybody at Juneteenth. The cousins, the friends, the classmates, the people that mentored you or whatever. It's a good way to come out and enjoy. And I like it. I like seeing everybody in motion doing they networking, and it's a good opportunity for people who have hopped into certain new spaces in their life to go out there and reestablish themselves. Like, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. Come check in with me. Business. All the food spots that are people that's trying to get their stuff off the ground. It was nice seeing new vendors out there, people who've been talking about it and actually did it. So shout out to y'all that got out there and took that big step of being a vendor at Juneteenth as well.
And there's a lot of resources out there. So many organizations out there that provide resources. Like it was like so many. Like I don't see how Milwaukee is even struggling with all the resources we got. So
man, it's all about just people really getting, of course, just like everything else, people really knowing it. Because I worked for that FSET program, and people didn't know that at the time when it first was kicking off for the first year and a half or 2 or maybe 3. people really wasn't in the loop of knowing that, hey, I can go get this, CDLs training this quick. They're gonna pay for it, especially when these programs we knew they got this money to push out. They trying to push that money out. That's how Job Corps was when they first opened up, man. We was eating good. They was having corned beef. We was having corned beef days, and I'm talking about, we have a dance for the students. We ordering little shrimp lube dishes and all that. That's how you better catch them organizations while that money hot for people that want to get into, whatever it is. If a new grant hit the ground or whatever the case may be, because I've seen how, once they tighten up, it's gonna tighten up. So and it's always like that for real. So catch them while they're feeling what do you say, in their philanthropist mindset. Real quick, just a little top off a little bit more about just the Juneteenth. If you weren't anywhere near Dr. Martin Luther King Drive during this past Thursday, then you felt it, the energy, the pride, the purpose. If you were there, it was our 54th annual Juneteenth celebration. It wasn't just a parade; it was a full day reminder of who we are, how far we've come, and the power we've held. People know that what Juneteenth is, but Milwaukee, we just don't mark the day, we live it. Since 1972, our city has honored Juneteenth as one of the longest standing celebrations in the country. We've been showing up before the federal government even caught up. From the grandparents who remember the first parade to the babies bouncing to the beat of marching bands, this year brought out together over 25,000 people. I believe it was close to 50, but it looked like 50,000 out there. And not just for the food and floats, but for the culture, connection, and commitment. So as you see, on the ground, you had a lot of people out there. As far as the vendors, we talked about the vendors. I heard it was over 400 vendors out there. Yeah.
Milwaukee actually got like probably the biggest Juneteenth celebration in the whole country. Like I don't think no other city is celebrating Juneteenth like Milwaukee.
Yeah, just for some comments from people that was out there. Angela, who's a mom of three, told one of the news outlets they came for the parade but stayed to support the business and hear folks speak to truths of power. Damon, a 17-year-old volunteer, said it wasn't just a party, it was power. He saw the people learning their rights, getting registered, and being proud to be Black. That's the spirit, like Milwaukee spirit, big time. I enjoy seeing it. I love seeing people connect with these organizations down there. Do want to, of course, shout out some of the people that we've seen. Fathers Making Progress, definitely seen them down there. I rolled up on a couple organizations that was in the mix. Some of even our state organizations that were out there doing the thing. One of the organizations I used to work with, DWD, been out there consistently. Who'd you see out there that you got to rock with? I seen you stopping at a couple places.
Yeah, Running Rebels.
MATC was out there doing
MATC was out there. Who else was out there? Block
was out there, yeah. Milwaukee Liberation. I know that's an organization just moved over to Lindsay Heights neighborhood. They were out there.
PSL was out there.
PSL, okay.
Empower was out there.
True School had a nice setup. Out there. Shout out to True School doing their thing. They was out there too. I did see, of course, some of the people that work in different spaces that I'm familiar with, like Miss Sandra Staples, who was over there sitting at the COGS booth. So shout out to Sandra.
African American Roundtable was out there.
Roundtable, shout out to them. Shout
out to Marquesa.
Yeah.
Shout out to Marquesa.
Marquesa, yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it was so many different vendors. I didn't even get to stop at some of the people that I usually connect with, you know, because once you walk past, you stop 20 minutes, you're like, man, let me go back past. I think my last loop was when I circled back around and try to go holler at folks at WNOV. I seen Keith and I seen one of the guys that work behind the scenes, but I was looking for Debo. I didn't see Debo.
Or Jermaine.
As soon as I Jermaine. Okay. Yeah, that's what. Oh, you was in the back then. Okay, because I went to that corner where Keith was, Keith was sitting in the corner. He looked like he was ready to go. He was chilling. He looked like he had a good meal or something, or he was, needed some water. I couldn't tell. But he was sitting in the corner. And then I seen just a couple of people that just be coming to visit. But I was looking for you. I didn't see. I'm like, oh man, I don't see Debo or Jermaine. I'm about to bust moves real quick. Also, you was in the back by the all right. So I didn't go towards that back area. I kind of came in underneath that open door or that big open window they had set up. But yeah, y'all had a nice setup. Y'all had your yellow Nike shirts on. Definitely recognizable.
Uniform.
They had the dry fits on too. Look, they spent some money. They had the dry fit Nikes on. Them $40 a pop.
Yeah, and it was perfect for that day. It was hot out there, man.
Yeah, and it was better than last year though. As far as I felt like the year before last,
it was way hotter.
Yeah, way hotter.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So before we get into it, we get into our in which we do have a guest today. Definitely want to make sure that you get to introduce your guests and all that. But before we get to that and our first break, I want to. Oh,
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
Joe
Shout
on
out Joe.
vacation. Shout out to Joe.
Shout out Joe.
I usually do the radio show with Joe because Bryan usually on vacation,
Ha
but
ha ha ha.
Joe decided like it's his turn now. So shout out to Joe for taking your time off, man. You needed it, you deserve it, man.
Yeah, I heard Joe canceled and is actually in Hawaii at the moment. So shout out to Joe
Ain't no
for
telling where
canceling
Joe
his
at.
flight and going from Atlanta to Hawaii. Joe, you are smart, man. Bring me back some aloha rum or whatever they got over there. I want some stuff fresh from the island. I don't want none of that, tariff marked, watered down stuff from over here. But yeah, Joe. I hope the trip went well. We'll figure out how everything went as far as the training and your experience down there with Century 22 or not Century 22, 22nd Century, the organization that ran the Atlanta trip. Yeah, the Atlanta. What do you call it? Training this week. So Wisconsin's Supreme Court and judicial news, just to kind of lay that part down since we were talking about Joe, we had Chief Justice Ann Walsh Bradley. She spoke on politicization, and she that was aired actually today on Upfront, or will be aired today on Upfront. And one of the key quotes from this interview was, "We've seen record-shattering spending in judicial races. That's not sustainable for justice systems built on public trust." Bradley, a liberal justice, was retiring after 30 years, weren't that increasingly partisan Supreme Court elections threaten the court's impartiality. Spending in the 2023 race between Janet Prostashewitz, am I saying it right? Prostashewitz, that's
I
lady.
can't even see the name.
And Dan Kelly. It was a lady who, Supreme Court back in 2023 on that race. Was a $50 million race, the most expensive state judicial race in U.S. history. They've called for reforms, including public campaign financing, stricter donor disclosure rules, and reevaluating judicial recusal standards. Bradley will be succeeded by Judge Susan Crawford, ensuring the court's liberal majority 4-3 remains intact. So she's pretty much speaking out on, we just need more ground set on how, money is spent for these races and, where money can come from. Supreme Court strikes down GOP's controlled settlement oversight call versus legislator. The decision was released Tuesday, so pretty much while we was doing the show. Attorney General Josh Call challenged a 2018 lame duck law requiring him to obtain GOP legislative approval for civil lawsuit settlements. The ruling, the court approved unanimously 7-1 that this law violated separations of power by infringing on executive branch authority. The implications, the DOJ now can negotiate and finalize settlements without legislative interference. Attorney General Call hailed it as a major win for the independence of state's top law enforcement agency. Rebecca Dallet wrote that the law placed improper unilateral authority in the hands of legislative committee, and this strengthens the governors and attorneys general's roles in future consumer protection, environmental enforcement, and civil rights cases. So they're able to, of course, finalize these settlements, without any interference from, the other side. I can see that being a pretty big move to get, to not have cases over time being stretched out and people feeling like they still dealing with a process of something or receiving a settlement from whatever, wherever it's environmental situations, some civil rights, anything that a consumer might, a big consumer case that might go down that could be held up by, the court. So that is a big move. Legislative and budget developments, budget negotiations collapse amid partisan divide. So discussion broke down during the week of June 17. Governor Evers and Republican legislative leaders remain at odds over the K through 12 school funding, child care support, child care counts, middle class cuts, and public safety funding. Republicans accuse Evers of being flexible, while the governor blames GOP lawmakers for walking away from compromise. Some progressive groups and teacher unions have started organizing rallies calling for an urgent deal. The budget could affect services in the fiscal year starting July 1st, including school district staffing, state grant disbursements, health services. And this still may have political fallout heading to the 26th governor's race, with Evers not yet confirming whether he'll run for re-election. So, yeah, I mean, again, if we want to have success for our future, we got to put into these kids, and we got to make sure these
For sure.
kids are safe, healthy. All this stuff is going. We know as adults, if we're not putting into our school system, our education systems, we see what we're left. We see the results in Milwaukee all the time, and not just Milwaukee, but this because we're from Milwaukee. We see what happens when we slack in certain spaces or in our own lives, and we didn't take certain opportunities. So just think on a mass scale, what could happen if we're not putting into the proper help at the school. Kids being able to eat nutritional items and nutritional food, or being able to have physical activities and sports and arts and things that arts and all that stuff that shapes and informs the brain at a young age. So yeah, let's get it together, and let's hope that we see something. So that right there was just a little bit on the school budget. The Joint Finance Committee to vote on the 23rd on key budget items. So scheduled to vote on the Thursday 27th. Items up for discussion. You got Department of Justice funding. It may affect staffing and resources for Attorney General Call's office. State Building Commission covers construction, maintenance, and infrastructure. And we always speak about infrastructure on the show as well. Possible inclusion of amendments tied to contentious issues like funding for UW systems expansion, statewide broadband access, state correctional facility upgrades. Both parties have submitted alternate budget proposals. So be on the lookout for that as well in your news to see, especially for our people who have family members in all these places, whether it's state correctional system funding for UW systems, and broadband access. And I don't know if they mean when they say broadband access that they're talking about broadband access to internet.
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm gonna have to look into that. Both parties have submitted those budgets, so we'll see. And on about the 27th this week, we should probably get a interesting update into how this vote went, or after the 27th. Election and voting. This will be another topic that me and you are, of course, always interested in. New election observing rules take effect August 1st. I know myself, I've been election observer. You've probably been election observing a bunch of times.
Yeah, a million times.
Yeah. If I've done it, I know you've done it a bunch of times. So the date adopted, finalized June 20th, effective August 1st, is developed by Wisconsin Election Commission after public hearings and legal reviews. Some of the major rule changes that we'll see: limit on video, audio recording at the polling places. It must not disrupt voting process or infringe on voter privacy. So you will probably see more, even if that's the case, you'll see more media shots now being taken from behind or being taken from
even outside
shot angles. Yeah, it won't be too many angles of people at the polls, side profiles from the polls. And I think about all that too, not just the, cameras of somebody, oh yeah, look who in here voting. The people that's working for these, small media, bigger media companies, they may have to change their plan on how they take shots of people to show, folks voting. Clear guidelines for observers in nursing homes and care facilities. They must follow staff protocols and cannot interfere with voters. So we'll have, it would be way more regulation. It looks like it must have been an issue more in nursing homes and caring facilities, but it looks like it'll be more regulatory protocols. Or, well, of course, be working in that space. Observers must wear visible name badges, follow set distancing rules from ballots and election equipment. That's always, I have to say, like, that's always been a thing too. And you always want to just be respectful of people's spaces and their settings. Aimed at curbing aggressive or intimidating observer behavior seen in past elections while preserving oversight. And nonpartisan election watchdogs have largely welcomed the rules. Some GOP-aligned groups claim the changes reduce transparency. So shout out to the nonpartisan groups that have stood up and supported this. So, just a few things that are, of course, going on in Wisconsin. I think the last thing right here that is all important is just the Capitol and lawmaker security after the two senators, the two individuals that in Minnesota, the speaker, looks like two of the speakers here in Wisconsin have decided to speak up about the boosting the Capitol security. So it looked like after the two state lawmakers and their spouses were, shot and appeared to be politically targeted violence, Wisconsin's Capitol Police increased patrols and presence in all government buildings. They've have key measures under consideration will be installing metal detectors at public entrances, ID checkpoints for non-government staff, reviewing open carry policies for Capitol visitors, guns currently allowed in many areas. Two of the speakers, Speaker Robert Ball, said he's concerned about lawmakers' safety outside the Capitol, such as at homes and events. Chris Kapinga supports banning firearms in Capitol buildings altogether. And lawmakers have received additional guidance on safety, security protocols, emergency response, and constituent event safety. So, yeah, it's just, taking proper calls. Nobody should feel like they are going to be threatened going to work or anything like that. So, whatever we got to do to keep people safe, I totally agree with that. So,
yeah, I mean, in our Capitol building, we don't have like no type of security. None. We just
they
walk
active,
in.
and
just walk in and
usually
walk where you want to go.
Right, and usually when you walk in, the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna run into, more than likely state capitol police. It's usually sitting downstairs somewhere or somebody, I guess. But yeah, there's no security and has not been any security. But I figured that was just because when something pop off, you already it's a wrap. More than likely you ain't gonna see too much of that if you bring in any malicious threat to a capitol building. I'm sure you'd be down within a few minutes, but
seconds,
right? Seconds, probably, depending on how it's set up. So yeah, I think that's a good intro into that. You got anything you else want to share with the people? Oh, shout out to Teron Hazelwood. He told me that, man, I haven't been to any of the Hazelwood and Wiggly gatherings lately. So shout out to Teron for putting me on the spot the other day. You funny at the Juneteenth. So I had to just shout that out real quick. Lanisha, go ahead.
I ain't really have too much to say, but we know Trump did send some missiles to Iran. You want to talk a little bit about what's going on?
Oh yeah. Would you want to talk about that real quick before break?
Yeah, we could do that before
we got we got time for break real quick to talk about it. Okay, cool. All right, so when we come back for the break, we'll just talk a little bit about the U.S. airstrikes on Iran and Operation Midnight Hammer, and then we'll be bringing on Mr. Kerry Jenkins, who's here to speak about activism and organizing. And this is one of Lanisha's people, so I'll make sure that she get the great interview going.
Yeah, we can do that.
Let's do it. Be a Voice Radio, Wisconsin Voices. We'll be back. Monday, June 23rd, 2025. Real quick, want to just shout out uh, Mr. Dante Cross. It's your birthday today. Happy birthday,
Happy
Mr. Cross.
birthday.
All right, today is Dante's birthday and tomorrow my cousin's birthday. So I'll be doing two more shout outs tomorrow to two of my cousins. But, this birthday, June season,
Cancer season.
Right, the cancer season. Before we get to the guests, we got them in studio now, but I'll have you do the intro. But we'll just talk about those U.S. airstrikes on Iran and Operation Midnight Hammer that was launched June 22nd, 2025. This mission was a limited, high-precision military strike aimed at crippling Iran's nuclear enrichment capabilities, not broader regime change or occupation. Three primary nuclear sites were targeted. So you have Fordow, which is a fortified underground uranium enrichment facility near Qom. You had Natanz, which is Iran's main centrifuge center, already damaged in previous cyber and drone attacks. You had Isfahan, I believe I said that right. Isfahan was a known location for uranium conversion and nuclear research. What they used were two B-2 Spirit stealth bombers flown from Diego Garcia. They would drop GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators designed to destroy deep underground bunkers. So what I do know about those penetrator bombs, they are made to go 250 feet underground, then explode. So the payload on that. So you got to drop it from something like a B-52. This is the only thing that can carry. I know they said that B-52 can carry two of those. So I think they had two B-52s. So that's four penetrators, massive ordnance penetrators. They had Tomahawk missiles launched from U.S. Navy submarines and Persian Gulf targeted air defense and command nodes near Isfahan. It was coordinated by the U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, and provided satellites and drones and its real-time tracking, minimized civilian casualties, and avoided broader infrastructure damage. So, casualties of a war are always, especially in big drops with bombs, major bombs. State officials said the operation was a response to escalating Iranian missiles attacks on U.S. allies, including Israel, and to Iran's violation of uranium-enriched thresholds. So that's just a little bit about that. Some way more information I got on it. It's a lot of strategy. We just now sitting back and watching and waiting to see what the response
waiting on
is.
The retaliation.
So
that's what we waited on.
It's been mentioned, you got different air bases between, if you look out on the map, you got all of them all the way from the Middle East area all the way down towards Eastern Africa of possible areas that they may try to do some, damage to. But
I
just wanted to give an update for people who weren't or who don't pay attention to the news like that. The main thing was, a lot of people were in most of the country is of trying to avoid any type of war.
For sure.
On both sides, when you hear from, this is a bipartisan situation. This is not a partisan situation. Everybody wants to see peace. People tired. We tired of war. We, as a country, we are just tired of war. Just think about it. In our 3 lifetimes, and we not in the true vets of the country. The folks that are older, 20 years older, 30 years older than us, they didn't see so many wars. Just imagine if you 85 and you like, well, and you still 85 and you on point and you like in aware of all this, which a lot of are, you got to be tripping. You got to know the industrial complex strategy. You should be seeing it all the way. Like, oh man, okay, this is like, oh, this ain't nothing but like a Walmart. Oh, this ain't nothing like opening up a franchise of Chick-fil-A for y'all on a massive scale or whatever. This is just on that level of that, of I guess profit and capitalization.
Yes, capitalism for sure.
So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. I don't want to spend too much time on it. I want to get to the main event and the main guests. So. Go ahead and the floor is yours, young lady. You just chime me in when you're ready.
So we had here a special person to me, man. One of my mentors, my brother, man. He's family. Kerry Jenkins, man. I met him when I was 18 years old. I met him at a funeral of two of my close friends. CJ actually seen me at 2 funerals, like exactly a month apart.
Okay.
And at that second funeral, he seen me again, and he hollered at me like, "Hey, I want you to come, to this meeting. It's he was working with the campaign against violence with Muhib, Kwabena, and Biko at the time.
Yeah.
And he like, yeah, you need to, come to this meeting. And at the time of my life, I needed to go to that meeting, and I went, and I've been organizing ever since. So shout out to CJ for finding me at the funeral.
So this the brother that brought you in.
Yeah. He actually really got me into doing the type of work I do. So I appreciate it. Thank you for that, CJ. How you doing today?
I am good. I'm chilling. Happy to be here. Happy to be back home.
So we just gonna, go over a couple of background and your background and your inspiration and stuff like that. So what first inspired you to get involved into political organizing?
I really never looked at it as political organizing. Shout out to Miss Benson, who was my African American history teacher at Hamilton High School. But just watching Roots, watching Eyes on the Prize, and watching the dogs being sicked on us, watching the water hoses. And Miss Benson had this picture of these white community members. It was two black bodies that were lynched and burned, and it was babies, it was white women, it was white men, it was elderly white men and women, and they were all smiling, taking pictures. And as a young person, it just resonated that, them selling us, them lynching us, them burning our bodies, taking body parts, raping our women, raping our men, raping our children, and taking our resources. And the only thing we got was integration, and it never really made sense to me. And I could look around Milwaukee and I could see that Black people had no power. We were the most segregated city in the country, and it just didn't make sense to me. And so I didn't understand how equality to the devil made no sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a young person, I always wanted to just organize to take back what was stolen from us and reclaim our dignity. And so I've been organizing since I was really born in this city.
Okay. Can you tell us about like your first experience as an organizer? Like what was some of the issues or the campaign you worked on?
So to me, really the term organizing started probably around Barack is when it became popularized.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that it was a title. I just thought that it was activism. I didn't know that there was strategy to it. I didn't know, with the understanding and education as I progressed in the political organizing terminology, I learned the science and the strategy. But it was here in Milwaukee. I was attending South Milwaukee High School, and our bus was hijacked. And because it was Black students going to an all predominantly white school, there was a lot of press there. And our principal at the time went on the news and said that we come out to this white school because we were afraid of the inner city, afraid of our community members. And for some reason at 13, I knew that this was a chance to change the narrative. So my mother, to my understanding, told me that we went out to South Milwaukee because the resources, the education, it was a little bit more better than in the public school section, what I had access to attend, other than like the Rufus Kings or the Mesmers. And so she sent us to South Milwaukee. And so I was more afraid to be around racist white folks and be an hour away from my home. And so I asked the principal to go on those same cameras because all the news stations were out there to retract this statement, because we came out there for resources, not because I fear my community. I love my community. I love my people. And so he refused to do so. So I organized a all Black student walkout. And so what the news thought was to talk about poor Black students on this bus was, why do we have to be shipped out an hour for quality education or for better resources? Why aren't those resources being given to our community? Where's the disconnect? And so I changed the narrative at 13, and I didn't know I was organizing, but that's what I was doing when I was a freshman. Back, that's when my political organizing actually started.
How long ago was that? You was a freshman. How long ago?
Nigga, oh, my bad. Don't try to have me tell my age. It was a while ago. Let's just say it was a while ago. Ago.
So, like, who were some of your mentors and role models in organizing?
Starting home, I would say Brother Oshie, who many of us know, Brother Oshie, Victor Barnett, Miss Benson. my peers, Muhib, Kwa, Biko, of course, Malia Lazu, Kahari Mosley. If you don't know those two names, look up Malia Lazu and Kahari Mosley. And then Diane Nash, CT Vivian, Harry Belafonte. Head Mr. B is one of my well, may he rest in paradise, but Mr. B took me under his wing when we formed together for Justice in 2005, and he's one of my biggest mentors as far as talking to me about Kingian nonviolence.
Okay, you got some questions you want to ask, B?
Oh, of course. We guess we can hop back down into. I mean, we guess we could go to number 4, or I can just hop back down to the organizing and strategy. What are some of the biggest challenges you face while organizing, and like how have you overcome them? I know you talked about beginning in your organizing. It seemed like you hit the ground kind of hard with organizing. What have been some of them challenges, or do you have any that stand out?
Yeah, resources, lack of resources. I now been actually organizing professionally for about 20 years, and I've done it on a national and global scale all around the world, organizing. And it's lack of resources. A lot of our organizations receive funding, the majority of their funding during electoral cycles when we need to have political education 365 days a year. It's a lack of empathy for our communities. That's the biggest challenge. It's a lot of self-hate in our communities, which is a challenge. Trying to organize a community that is really at war with itself. It's very, very difficult to preach love when folks are trying to figure out how to pay their bills and trying to figure out how to feed their families or provide daycare, and to teach that you have a voice and you have power when folks feel powerless has been a challenge. But every city, there's different issues. There's different challenges wherever I go. But the one challenge I think is the biggest is that reflection in the mirror, the lack of accountability for oneself. And people can point out problems for everything else except take self-accountability for themselves, to love their neighbor, to have compassion, to have unconditional love. And it's a daily practice, and people do not want to operate on that higher frequency. It takes a lot of work just to be on that higher frequency. The low vibration is the gossip. It's the talking about one another. It's the tearing one another down. It's the violence. And that's a low frequency that they want us to be on. But the challenge is for us to stay on that high frequency, to stay on that love vibration. And that's been a challenge, but it's a beautiful challenge. It's a beautiful struggle.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. I mean, I've been, I was the lead organizer for Wisconsin Voices, and then we switched over in restructuring, etc. So I'm now a community outreach organizer, and my 2 years. And shout out to Tamika for bringing me on, Tamika Vukovic for bringing me on into the organizing and the nonpartisan lane. But yeah, I do see you see that I've had these conversations in my 2.5 years of being out here. It don't got matter. It doesn't have anything to do with me or the lack of concern or care for, and like you said, it has to be taught year round for people to not to see that we're not just coming in, or these, non-black organizations not just going to come in here and just do this around election season. We got to keep infiltrating these spaces. We got to make it uncomfortable. We do. Because if we don't, we're going to keep seeing we're gonna keep seeing our people in the city getting taken advantage of, especially if they already saying have to certain groups in the city got a 3rd and 4th grade reading level. Comprehension skills is low. So when your comprehension skills is low, that means you're not gonna care about the basic things or the things that you don't understand or that's go on, and that the political folks and the movers and shakers that control a lot of things do every day that holds you back. We have to find a way to enhance them and enhance the group across the city, black, white, whatever, Latino, whatever. So they'll have, more concern with who's, telling you what to do at, whatever time of the day for whatever reason. So yeah, I agree with that. Definitely. Yeah. Just going into the next one. Thank you for that too. I appreciate that. So what strategy for building trust in community, since we talked about that, especially during times of political tension, what are some strategies you've seen, or what do you think? I mean, even right now, it's a lot of tension. What would be some strategies for building trust in the community?
Again, so from an organizer lens, I think that what organizers should do is to really reach out to community members and have one-on-ones. Like the most important effective tool is to have sit downs with community members and find out what's going on their block and their community and what are the issues. You build trust by building relationships.
Yeah.
You know, from organizing, they tell you organize one-on-one, the first step is relationship building. And I can't tell you how to build that relationship until you actually sit down with the person in your community and find out what the issues are. And so what happens is that organizers tend to pop up into these communities and they run PowerPoints. They ask folks to come to meetings without building relationships. And so folks don't really care about the mission of the organization, or they're coming because an individual like Lanisha or yourself are asking them to come, right, to that meeting. And then if Nisha leaves Wisconsin Voices, then that person leaves. And so we need to start building trust by building relationships. And I tell Nisha and I tell all of my organizers, so with Black Men Build, as co-founder of Black Men Build, we have hubs in Detroit, St. Louis, Brooklyn, New York, Miami, Atlanta, Los Angeles. I tell them I'm never going to ask you to do anything that I wouldn't do, right? And so to build trust means that you got to work on yourself. And I'm going to keep saying that. Oftentimes we have like families who are affected by police or state sanctioned violence, and they've lost their loved one to gun violence, and so they become organizers out of that pain. But that doesn't mean that you're a good person. You know what I mean? So that trauma you have, that pain you have, if you're not a good person and you're not working on yourself, then you're bringing that to the movement space.
Yeah.
And so to build trust with the community means that the movement has to get right. Right. That means that individually you got to be right with yourself. You can't ask your community to do it. And that's part of the reason why our communities don't change, is because we're not working on ourselves. And folks can see the hypocrisy in movement, where folks choose job titles and money over freedom and liberation.
Yeah.
And so until movement folks, organizers, executive directors, community members start putting liberation and freedom and not resources or job titles above liberation, because somehow the goalpost keeps moving, right? Freedom should be the only goal, and until we are free, nothing else should matter, right? And I think that I'm so happy, not because Trump is in office to cause oppression and pain on my people, but Trump being in office is a symbol that days of being asleep are over with, right? The alarm clock has rung. So if you don't understand that the deportations, the removal of education, the taking away our history, the white supremacy dog whistles, if you don't realize that we in a war zone, then when we were in Ferguson, when the tear gas and rubber bullets come back to Milwaukee, then you're going to wake up. But right now we should be organizing and strategizing. And the only way that you can build trust is to be in the community 365-day, asking the community, what do you need? What are your needs? What are your issues? How can I help you? And have real political organizing homes that they can come to and provide education and resources for them. That's how I think you should build trust.
Yeah, I'm a fan of always constant bringing, like you said, bringing that being seen and not just being out there just to have the title. You know, we always talk about that, and you know, the folks across, and it sounds like, you know, you're lining with what I think as well is we can't just have a bunch of folks out here with the titles and you're not putting in the work. It's not, you don't want to be an organization, even like working with Wisconsin Voices. I don't want us to be an organization that we, you know, was just talking all this stuff, but we not in the community. We're not going to these events. We're not trying to set up different forums. And that's why I'm excited about, you know, what we've been doing and what we got going on is, you know, structuring and figuring out ways that how can we tap in. You know, we got to bring these leaders back together. We got to bring the folks, and we got to bring out the people that's not being seen, that don't know how to get into these outlets, into these spaces. 414-444-5253 if you have any calls for Mr. Jenkins. Back to you.
Okay, so man, CJ, you did a lot. You did a lot. Since I've been knowing you, did a lot. So you just talk about like some of the stuff you some of the campaigns you on, like can you share like a campaign or organizing moment that you're like especially proud of, like something you did?
Yeah. So working on the Stacey Abrams campaign in the state of Georgia, 2018 gave me that feeling of working on the mayoral campaign to try to get Marvin Pratt elected in Milwaukee. That was pretty exciting. Working with the League of Young Voters and being in Tallahassee, Florida, when Barack was elected as the first African American president, and working with you around the country and having my organizers do voter registration and mobilization during Barack's campaign.
Yeah. That was a good time.
Frank Jude, the march for Frank Jude when Officer Bartlett murdered Larry Jenkins, unarmed Larry Jenkins, and received no punishment. And then him and his other fellow officers were drunk and off duty and assaulted Frank Jude. And the community coming together in 2004 for that march was beautiful. The work we did in Ferguson in honor of Mike Brown, identifying leaders on the ground. We went there for a weekend and ended up staying almost a year in St. Louis and Ferguson and assisting with those efforts for Hands Up United. Traveling to Cuba and learning about their literacy campaign. Cuba had a illiteracy rate of 26.3%, and Fidel Castro started a campaign for literacy. And in 8 months, they went from 26% to 3.9%. Everybody from 8-year-olds until to the elderly worked on this campaign every day for 8 months until they dropped the reading rates from 26% to so that folks now are literate to 3%, and it's political education in Cuba. And so going to Cuba and learning about socialism and how the doctors operate in the community, learning about how they have free healthcare, working with MST in Brazil, and those campaigns in Sao Paulo in Brazil. So I just left Jamaica, working with the Maroon community in Jamaica. So
that's dope.
All these various campaigns and all of this information, I try to bring back to my organizers such as yourself and to the Sloans and to the Oscar Canes of the world, so that we can build these bridges of information and resources so that we can get free. And so it's not one particular campaign, it's all of them that I get this information from so that I can pass it on to y'all, because we got to keep passing the baton.
Yeah. We got a caller on the line. Let's bring the caller up.
Hey,
caller, you on Big Voice Radio?
I just wanted to call and give all three of y'all flowers, man. Bryan, Nick, Lanisha, CJ, man, y'all three of my favorite people in the world, man. Y'all always have my back. Y'all know I don't post much or nothing, but y'all always come through, see the work, see me put the work in, and have my back whenever I need y'all. I just wanted to call in and give y'all flowers, man. CJ pulled up. I didn't even know the man. Lanisha got him at the park, and he got me involved with Black Man Bill. So, that's all.
Oh,
and even y'all at Wisconsin Voices, man, Nisha, Bryan, y'all always got my back, man. So I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. That's all I want to say.
Appreciate you too,
that's
Brandon.
Love,
love
man.
you too, man.
Love you too, Brandon. We always love hearing from Brandon. So
that's B. What up, B?
Yeah, that's B. Yeah. Yeah, man. Brandon out there working hard, man. Shout out to Brandon and helping kids better themselves. HKBT.
Yeah, they got the basketball camp going on.
Yep. Bring your kids over there, man. Let's get them kids right. Get them kids on the court.
It's from 9 a.m. to 12, I believe, at Atkinson Park. So get them kids up there to enhance their basketball skills.
Anything else you want to say to them, B, real quick, while we got you on the air?
Nah, nothing else, man. It's about y'all right now, man. Love y'all.
All right, love you too,
love you too, Brandon.
Absolutely, yeah. That's what's up. Yeah. Okay, cool. We are in the mix. So you want to keep it going? It's your guest. So you. Oh yeah, let's take a break. Yeah,
we can take a break.
All right, yeah. Be a Voice Radio, Wisconsin Voices. We'll be right back with Mr. Kerry Jenkins. Talk about historical landmarks and everything in Milwaukee, things, and knowing the city and stuff. Before we get to the last questions, we got a gala coming up, right?
Yeah, July 31st.
July 31st.
Hubbard Park Lounge.
Okay.
5 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Yeah, if you want to get out, come to the garden. Come to the gala in the garden. We'll be there. I'll be there. I don't know what I'm wearing. I don't know.
You gotta wear something bright.
Yeah, I know. I be liking my little earth tones and dark colors. I wear black.
Me
I like
too.
my earth tones, so I guess I got to switch it up a little bit.
Yeah, you
so,
gotta be bright.
Yeah, garden and
pink.
gala. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I ain't got no problem with the. Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we got that coming up. Garden and gala, July 31st, 5 to 9. We are gonna have. We're working on just making sure that we have everything set up. We're gonna have some auction items for you. We still in works of doing that. You know, it's nonstop. So if you got something, if you wanna contribute and donate something to Wisconsin Voices on any level, get at myself, get at Lanisha or anybody on the team. You get at the new executive director. See, a lot of y'all knew him. He was getting shout outs all through the I seen him at Summerfest. I heard David. So get in contact with executive director David Bowen if you got something you want to slide over to him as well. We got a couple more questions. You want to take one apiece?
Yeah, I'll do the first one.
Okay.
So, where do you see the future of grassroots organizing going, especially like in Wisconsin? Where you see it going?
Hopefully, it's going to get us to liberation. I attended a organizing meeting, Black men organizing on 83rd and Keefe at I can't remember the name of the church.
The church with Pastor Lanier.
Yeah. And it was several folks in there talking very much about power and effective one-on-ones. And you have like Wisconsin Voices, you have Black Men Build, the national organization that's connected nationally to Movement for Black Lives. You have organizations like Block that's connected to Popular Democracy, which is a national organization as well. And you have folks like yourself. You have so many amazing, powerful young people who are passionate about community, passionate about change, passionate about building power. And so here in Milwaukee, if we can figure the intergenerational divide and figure how to build coalitions and suspend the ego, then I think that we can actually build power and create real sustainable change in Wisconsin. And I think that Milwaukee can be the blueprint, which it has been in the past, for other cities around the country, of how to come together, how to organize, how to get real wins, and how to build power. And we look at power as organized people, organized money, and a plan of action. And so you need those things in order to actually create change. And we don't have enough power. We don't have enough influence. And so we need to come together. And the only way we can do that is suspend the ego, work together. And so be the bridge. And I think Milwaukee is on the right path. I've seen some amazing folks here. Juneteenth was peaceful. And let that be like the beginning of us coming together, working together, and let's continue to do that.
Yeah, that's real. All right.
I heard Minister Farrakhan say something about Milwaukee. It was like a quote. He said, like, Milwaukee is like a real slow pace, but when Milwaukee catch on, Milwaukee gonna be it for real. So it was just like kind of, touching to hear that how Minister Farrakhan felt about Milwaukee. Like, it is slow, but they got some brilliant people here for real.
I heard Farrakhan was the one that got the donations for the to the new mosque over there. I talked, when I ran into David Muhammad, so he invited me. Shout out to David.
Out to David.
I'm gonna come down there too, David. I'll be at the mosque. This is Bryan. I don't know what day. I'm gonna come check out. I'm gonna just come through and
sorry, country, but the crib, if you think about like the voter ID suppression laws, Tommy Thompson, when he was in office, a lot of the tactics that are used to suppress poor Black people, poor brown people around the country, with Scott Walker being the county exec here before he was governor, not Scott Walker, but Sheriff Clark when he was here. Milwaukee, if we're the blueprint for the country to oppress the poor and Black people around the world, then Milwaukee can also be the blueprint for how to build coalition, how to love one another, how to work together, and how to build power as well.
That's real.
We are our own worst enemy. So if we can get our own way, then we can really free our people here.
Yeah, that's
Man.
nice. Well, we want to thank you
That
for
was a
coming.
good closing.
Yeah, that was great closing. We ain't got to go to the next question. We want to thank you for coming,
Thank y'all for
Mr.
having
Kerry. Absolutely,
Yeah.
Mr. Kerry Jenkins. Thanks for coming. This is Being Voice Radio, Wisconsin Voices. Thank y'all. God bless y'all. Stay cool today.